Hello, hello. Welcome back to the Sleuth Intuition channel. I'm your host, Patrick Vallejos, and we are broadcasting to the world live from Phoenix, Arizona. And I have quite a tragic tale for you today. As you can see by the thumbnail, Karmelo Anthony, Austin Metcalf. Question is this murder or self defense? From a legal standpoint, I'm not exactly sure. I'm not exactly sure what happened. I think there's two ways to look at this, and I'm curious to get your opinion. So the victim in this case was Austin Metcalf, 17-year-old student from Frisco Memorial High School. Here, let me pull this up. I have it up. So this is going to be near Dallas, Texas. I'm not familiar with this area at all. Apparently, the name of the location, David Kuykendall Stadium. Looks to be part of a athletic complex. All right. Austin Metcalf, who was tragically killed on April 2nd, 2025. He was a junior, a standout football player, and a track athlete with a 3.97 GPA, known for his leadership and bright future. According to reports, Austin was fatally stabbed in the chest during an altercation at a track meet at Kuykendall Stadium in Frisco. The incident reportedly stemmed from a dispute over seating, where Austin asked another student, 17-year-old Karmelo Anthony from Frisco Centennial High School, to move from his team's tent. The situation escalated and Anthony allegedly stabbed Austin with a knife. Austin died in the arms of his twin brother Hunter, who witnessed the event and tried to save him. Karmelo Anthony has been charged with first-degree murder and is currently in custody in Collin County Jail with $1 million bond. Austin's family, including his father Jeff and mother Megan, have spoken about his character, describing him as a driven, kind, and talented young man with college football aspirations. The community, including his school and church, has rallied in support to support the family with vigils held and a GoFundMe page set up to help with expenses. So here's some images of the actual crime scene. Hey, what's up, Blind Squirrel? Welcome in, everybody. She Warrior Beth, good to see you. D Mart Mark, CJK, She Warrior Ziggy. What's up with you, Tommy Baker? Mark, always good to see you. J Ray. Christine Mustang. And who am I missing? Danny B, welcome in. Never heard of this case? All right, let's jump back into some of that info then. Here's a little information on Karmelo. So, I mean, right now, things actually seem to be split. And from a legal standpoint, I'm really not sure what the defense, what his defense could be right now. So apparently maybe he did just sit down, in a place where he was allowed to sit, but for whatever reason, maybe, it was a tradition or an unspoken rule, maybe. Because you can see here, the Warriors, that's the school that Austin Metcalf went to. And I believe this tent was probably up a little bit higher. I have a feeling that first responders may have moved it. Considering where all the items are, it's as if the tent kind of shifted downward. So apparently, what they would do is they would set these tents up and it would kind of secure an area where they can leave with their belongings. Um, like you can see here, everybody, the track team would leave all their backpack, all their supplies, all their personal things. They'd say, okay, everything should be secured. This is our designated area. And apparently, the two twin boys and another gentleman were kind of protecting this area, it sounds like. Here's another view. So the gentleman right there on the left of your screen, Carmelo Anthony, apparently he goes and sits underneath this tent here. This is the current narrative being kind of pushed. So this gentleman here, Carmelo, sits underneath this tent and is asked to move by the victim, Austin Metcalf. Some words are exchanged. It kind of turns into somewhat of a fight. And before you know it, Carmelo pulls out a knife, and he's admitted to this, but he's claiming self-defense. He's saying, hey, you know what? I was just sitting here. They don't own this place. They tried to force me to move. I wasn't moving. They tried to physically force me to move, and I stabbed the guy. That's the current, that's the other side of the coin. So I think the argument, was he wrong? Was he being a jerk? Yeah, but that doesn't mean that he was breaking the law, right? He may have been he may have known damn well that he was going to be annoying these people, but hey, you don't own the bleachers, right? So I'm trying to look at things from his perspective. Did he say, "Oh, you guys think because you can put up this canopy here and all of a sudden you own this this part of the bleachers?" Like, no, maybe he was doing it in protest. And they were like, "Oh, well, we're here to protect all these items. We want to make sure nobody's trying to steal anything. We've kind of designated this area for the girls. Like, we need you to move." He's like, "No, you don't own the bleachers, right?" So I don't know. I think from a legal standpoint, I'm confused what direction this is going to go. Good to see you, Mustang. CJK says, way too much aggression for the killer to claim self-defense, in my opinion. When you say aggression, like when I originally saw this story, I didn't know who was being the aggressor. It sounded like these gentlemen were kind of pressing up on him. Does that mean he had, legally he had the right to defend himself, stand your ground, So I don't know the whole story. I don't know if they physically tried to grab him, tried to forcefully move him. So I don't know. I don't know exactly what's going on. But these are the situations that really scare me. Things that can happen at the drop of a dime. One moment you're your head is over here. You're having a good time. You're just enjoying your day. Not in a million years could you imagine what would happen, in the next second or two. Your brother dying, or you just got stabbed in the chest. There's no way for you to plan for that most times, right? So I think the biggest question is how did this happen? Who's to blame? Right now, the official story, the official narrative is like, hey, this guy was out looking for trouble. Um, I'm sure some are going to try to make it a racial thing. Maybe that was part of it. I haven't seen any evidence of that yet. It just sounds like maybe somebody protesting, like, hey, you guys don't own the bleachers. And then these guys were like, yeah, we do own the bleachers. So I don't know. I see this one drawing out through a trial. What's up, She Warrior? I believe he's 17 years old. Let's see. Karmelo Anthony is a 17-year-old student from Frisco Centennial High School in Texas, identified as the suspect in the fatal stabbing of Austin Metcalf on April 2nd, 2025, just a couple days ago. According to reports, Anthony was involved in an altercation with Metcalf at a track meet held in Kuykendall Stadium in Frisco. The incident reportedly began over a dispute about seating, where Metcalf asked Anthony move from his team's tent. The situation escalated, and Anthony allegedly stabbed Metcalf in the chest with a knife, leading to Metcalf's death. Anthony has been charged with first-degree murder and is currently being held at Collin County Jail with a $1 million bond. We're going to hear from his dad. He's left a few comments. So we'll read a couple articles, try to gather a little background on Karmelo. Welcome in, Cindy. How you doing, Ziggy? J-Ray. Yeah, being a teenager is hard. A lot of people don't make it out of it. They don't make it out of being a teenager alive. Can be tough. It was rough for me, that's for sure. Good to see you, Grunge Truck. Blind Squirrel, how you doing? D-Mart, welcome in. All right. So let's watch a few interviews with some family members of the victim, a couple local reports, and we'll try to piece this all together.
Tonight.
When you lose one of the most important people in your life,
So many kids love him.
comfort can be found with those who love him.
Just doesn't make any sense.
Megan Metcalf got the call this morning.
Just because the kid was mad, my son is not here anymore. And I don't understand it.
Her 17-year-old son, Austin Metcalf, was at a UIL track meet at Kuykendall Stadium. Police say there was an altercation between two Frisco ISD students.
I got a phone call from Hunter
Austin's identical twin.
screaming that Austin had been stabbed.
Megan beat the ambulance to the hospital and saw him get taken in.
Oh, he was the most amazing kid. Oh, so smart. He had college football guys looking at him to play in college. His goal was to play in college.
While we were talking to Mom,
Just to put your arms wrap around a support.
Austin's brother
This is Hunter. Did you want to talk to him? Okay.
came outside. Hunter Metcalf was there when it happened.
I tried to whip around as fast as I could, but I didn't see the stab. But then I look at my brother, and then I'm not going to talk about the rest. So just that's just what I saw, and I mean, I try to help them.
From the day they were born 17 years ago, Austin, just 4 minutes older, was Hunter's best friend.
He knew how much I loved him, how much I do for him. I do anything for him.
They ran together, played football together. They had that twin sense only twins would understand.
It's just really heartbreaking not to see him next year on the field.
Hunter never imagined the day he and Austin would be apart.
This is going to be really hard.
In Frisco,
let's go to Bobby. Good to see you, Bobby. Says, shouldn't have had a knife. And I don't know what the law is. I know you probably shouldn't be having a knife at school. But that wasn't a school. It looked like it was some kind of a athletic complex. So I don't know what the laws are for a 17-year-old having a knife. And if you guys have not participated in the poll, please do so now. Was it murder or self-defense? Right now, 42% say, you know what? This is absolutely murder. 58% of you say, I'm not sure. And not one person has voted for self-defense. So this is very interesting. And this is why I wanted to cover this case. Blind Squirrel says, in Texas, no weapons allowed on school grounds. I don't think that this is a school. It looks like it's near a middle school. Yeah, I think it is. I think you might be right. I can't tell. Yeah, it says FISD Athletic Complex. So I don't know if this is a school. I mean, it's definitely associated with the school. Why else would they be having a track meet there? CJ Gay says, and maybe Anthony was going to steal something. Who knows? Yeah, I'm very curious as to what really happened. You know, you're going to have what really happened, and then you're going to have the narrative that's being pushed by people in their own because of their own motivating factors. What's going on, Dark Side? Was he there with anybody, Anthony, or was he alone? The information that I've gathered, he was alone. But let's keep going here. Here's the story according to his brother Hunter, who actually was there.
Could ever happen. How did it happen?
So it was a really bad storm in the morning, and they had a lot of delays. And me, my brother, a couple of kids were walking back from the field house of the middle school because we attended that middle school when we went to middle school, and we were saying hello to old coaches and catching up with them. And then we're walking back to our stand. We put our tent up so all the bleachers were right there. Were not wet from all the rain. We come back, we sit down, and this kid said something behind me.
All right. So did you guys hear what he said? He said they set up the tent because it was raining all morning long, and they set up the tent for the girls' track team so they can put all their belongings underneath it.
Never met this kid in my entire life, never knew who he was. Said something just inappropriate and uncalled for, and I turned around, and this kid, our stand, we put our tent up so all the bleachers were right there, were not wet from all the rain. We come back, we sit down, and this kid said something behind me. I've never met this kid in my entire life, never knew who he was. Said something just inappropriate and uncalled for, and I turned around and asked him who he was. He started getting really aggressive. my brother stepped in. He started being, how he always is with me, just brothers, just having my back. And things started getting more on higher intensity. And the kid said some like aggressive stuff, like reckless stuff. Also try to handle the problem. And, yeah.
And then
Austin was always one to step up. He always was one to step up and be the person that would do the right thing. And he was doing the right thing by saying to this gentleman that you're not supposed to be in this tent. This is like because they have personal items there.
See, so the narrative that I'm getting, like the mother just here. Let's play very close attention to what she says right here.
That you're not supposed to always want to step up. He always was one to step up and be the person that would do the right thing. And he was doing the right thing by saying to this gentleman that you're not supposed to be in this tent. This is like because they have personal items there.
A lot of stuff gets stolen, just like that, just precautions and stuff. And our coaches always told us don't let, other schools, like mess with our stuff, just sit around our tent area. And we set that up for the girls track every meet we had. So it's just like, he knew he wasn't supposed to be there. And he was it's just a tragedy what happened.
Okay, so this is kind of the question. According to them, he wasn't supposed to be there. What does the law say? Does the law say, hey, you don't get to tell these people who comes and goes? You don't get to dictate who sits near or underneath your tent because you set the tent up. You know what I mean? So I think I'm more curious as to how they're going to approach this. Right now, he's been charged with first-degree murder. That doesn't make any sense.
And then what happened, Austin? After your brother stepped up, what happened then?
He stepped up over there, asked him to move, got aggressive. He grabbed the bag, and then I whipped my head around, and then all of a sudden I see him running down the bleachers, grabbing his chest, and just blood rushing out. He said, he got stabbed. He got stabbed.
So Hunter says he went up to him non-aggressive. So if he just went up to him and said, hey, look, man, and was trying to reason with him or say, hey, look, we need you to get out of here, please, trying to explain his position. We're here to protect this personal property here. We don't want you to get accused of anything. And then for whatever reason, he just attacks him. I just don't know if that's actually what happened, but if that is what happened, obviously that's first-degree murder.
First, I froze for half a second. I didn't know what to do, and then I saw him about to fall. I went to go over there. I grabbed him. I see.
Let's go.
Yeah, this is definitely a tragedy. You guys give me a second. I'm gonna reset everything here. You might lose me for I don't know, maybe a minute. All right, there we go. All right, so what do you guys think so far? Where's your head at on all this? You think it's just cut and dry? Me, I'm not sure one way or the other. I'm just definitely going to take a close look, I don't want to just accept this narrative that's put out about this perfect football star and, completely innocent. Didn't confront this guy, didn't attack him, didn't do anything right to deserve what happened. That's the narrative that's out there right now. And that could be what's going on, but for me, I want to make sure. Look at things from all angles. All right, let's go to the chat for a minute. Miss Doglover, good to see you. CJK says, no, he had no right to kill that kid, in my opinion. He didn't even try to throw a punch. And well, his brother said he went over there non-aggressive. And he said he grabbed the bag. I don't know if he's referring to his brother, Austin, grabbing the bag. Like he grabbed the guy's bag, like, here, let me help you out. Just move over here or something like that. Or if the guy grabbed the bag, because apparently he pulled the blade from what sounds like a backpack. What's up, right? Is stabbing someone in the heart considered self-defense in any circumstance unless that person already had a knife or a ton of their own? No. Like here in Arizona, if you come up and assault somebody and just punch them in the face, they can literally kill you. Because first of all, you're not supposed to be assaulting people, because that you could kill somebody by doing that. It happens all the time. People get hit one time, boom, and they die. Sometimes they get hit. That doesn't kill them, but when they fall, they land very awkward, or they hit their head on something hard, and then they die. So, I think you should be allowed to defend yourself. The only question here is, was this guy, Karmelo, who's been charged with murder, was he defending himself, or was he looking for trouble? Because, right, the narrative sounds like he's sitting there. The brother says he makes a comment like, hey, like maybe he was looking for trouble. This is the narrative coming from Hunter. He's like, hey, we sat down, we're checking on our items, and then somebody's kind of talking shit from behind. He said he turned around, and then they had some kind of an altercation. J Ray says the Twins were probably like, you don't even go to our school. Get to your own side of the stadium. A lot will probably depend on what the witnesses say. I couldn't find any other witness accounts. I'm sure they'll come out eventually, but right now I haven't found anybody who's kind of come forward and spoken with the media. Let's go to the poll results so far. We have 29 votes. There's 39 people apparently watching. So if you could vote, that way we can get an idea of where we're at. The question is this murder or self-defense? 41% of you say murder. 3% say self-defense. 55% of you are saying that you're not sure at this point. Anthony's dad is already saying his kid was a good kid, but he posted a questionable photo on Facebook with a high-powered gun or so, I think, as I scrolled by posts. I did see that earlier, and I couldn't find it again. I think he was holding up like an AK-47. When you hold that photo in context, it could look bad. But honestly, maybe it's not that bad. A lot of people have AK-47s, and, maybe he was taking a photo with it. Maybe it's not his. Maybe it's his friend's. I don't even know if it's an AK. It might be like a Mac 90 or an SKS or something. I don't know. But it looks like an AK. Maybe it was even like a Draco or something like that. Did he politely ask him to move from his team's tent, or did he command him to move from his team's tent? That's the question. Like, what was the hostility? Was he like you don't have the right to be here, get out of here? Or like, what the F are you doing? Like, better than to be, this is our area. I just don't, you just can't trust human nature to give you the truth right out in the bat. Because how media is, right? If that was my family, I'm going to get out in front of it, right? I don't want anybody trying to spin this narrative. I just don't feel like anybody for Karmelo is out there. Nobody's kind of out there telling his story, really. His father has come forward. Maybe we can hear from him. and then we'll go to Austin Metcalf's father, who actually gave a pretty good interview. He seems like a really nice guy. But right now, let's hear from Karmelo's father. I have a few different articles here we can take a look at. I think this was from the New York Times, written by Ben Nagel. Looks like he put this out yesterday. It's titled "Heartbroken Dad of Teen Arrested for Murder at Texas Track Meet Claims His Son Didn't Start It and is a good kid." The father of 17-year-old boy accused of fatally stabbing a rival at a Texas track meet has issued a staunch defense of his son and insists he is a good kid. Karmelo Anthony was arrested on suspicion of murder after the shocking incident in which Austin Metcalf, also 17, was stabbed in a brawl over a seat at Kuykendall Stadium in Frisco. So apparently they're saying there was a brawl. I don't know if that's accurate. Like, what kind of a brawl? You know, we don't hear that in any of these eyewitness accounts or testimony from people who were there. Hours after the football star bled to death in his twin brother's arms, Anthony's heartbroken father told the New York Post, New York Post, "Everyone has already made their assumptions about my son, but he's not what they're making him out to be. He's a good kid. He works 2 jobs. He's an A student, has a 3.7 GPA. He also went on to insist that his son did not instigate the brawl, which led to the murder, claiming he was not the aggressor. He was not the one who started it. Anthony, 17, has been charged with first-degree murder and remains in police custody. But his father insists the heat-of-the-moment incident is a tragedy for both families. Anthony was allegedly told he was sitting in the wrong seat at the track meet before he drew a knife and stabbed Metcalf in the chest as his identical twin brother watched on. Metcalf's father, Jeff, has also spoken out, questioning the upbringing of the alleged killer, asking, what kind of parents did this child have? What was he taught? The victim's brother, Hunter, recalled the heartbreaking incident, telling WFAA, "I tried to whip around as fast as I could. I looked at my brother, and I'm not going to talk about the rest. I tried to help him." Hunter then called his parents, who rushed to Austin's side but found him not breathing. "I could see all the blood, and I saw where the wound was, and I was very concerned. So I had to find his brother, and we rushed to the hospital. And we prayed, and it's God's plan. I don't understand it, but they weren't able to save him. This is murder," his father, Jeff Metcalf, said. Here, I think I have another one. U.S. News. I think this is from the New York. This one is from the New York Times by Patrick Riley. The chilling words teen told cops after allegedly stabbing Texas football star Austin Metcalf, who died in his twin brother's arms. The teenager accused of fatally stabbing Austin Metcalf and leaving him to die in his twin brother's arms at a high school track meet allegedly admitted to the senseless killing, but claimed it was in self-defense. He says, "I'm not alleged, I did it." 17-year-old Karmelo Anthony chillingly told police in Frisco, Texas, as he was being arrested at Kuykendall Stadium, according to an arrest warrant obtained by NBC. The horrific stabbing was sparked when Anthony, who was sitting under another team's pop-up tent as it rained Wednesday morning, was asked by Metcalf to move, and Anthony refused, according to arrest reports. So I wonder if I wonder if it was raining at the time and he was like, I'm going to sit under the tent. I'm going to seek shelter from the rain. Did I miss anything? Oh, I think I did. Okay, so Anthony refused. According to the arrest report, Anthony then unzipped a bag, reached inside, and told Metcalf, who he'd never met before, touch me and see what happens. A witness told police, according to the document. Okay, so here's another eyewitness account. So this sounds like maybe a warning. It says here he unzipped the bag, so he had the knife in the bag ready to go. Witness says Anthony told, Karmelo told Austin, touch me and see what happens, according to what a witness told police. Moments later, Metcalf grabbed Anthony to tell him to move, and Anthony pulled out a black knife and stabbed Austin once in the chest, police said. Okay, so this is the part that I have issue with. Moments later, so he warns him, touch me and see what happens. I don't know why it says Anthony. Oh, sorry. They're referring to Karmelo Anthony. Sorry about that. Just trying to do two things at once. Thank you, Mustang. I appreciate that. Okay, Karmelo Anthony says, touch me and see what happens. And apparently Austin Metcalf grabbed Anthony and then he was stabbed. So I don't know what we're dealing with. I don't know. Yeah, legally, what do you guys think? I should have done a better poll question. Okay, let's see here. So he used a black knife, stabbed Austin once in the chest. Anthony ran away before he was chased down and arrested. See, that doesn't help his case. If it was self-defense, why are you running? You have no reason to run. That's going to look bad. That looks horrible. Anthony ran away before he was chased down and arrested. Let's go to Miss Doglover. Here in London, they walked around with machetes and swords, and the police do not. Fuck that. You got to have the Second Amendment. Like, what else are you going to do? People are crazy. How many of these true crime cases do we cover where, like, you can't see it coming? You're just going about your business, and you just happen to be in the wrong place at the wrong time. You cross paths with some maniac, a predator, a maniac. I mean, you just never know. Look at this. This guy's like, get out of our tent. A minute later, he's dead. He's like, oh, I'm going to get this guy out of here. It's like, no, you're going to get stabbed in your chest by some crazed person. All right. It doesn't look like we've budged on the poll here, from what I can see. God's strongest schizo. Yeah, it's a high school track meet, so I don't know what the rules are. I'm sure it's probably the same as high school. I don't know how it works. It's not school property, so. God's strongest says school function, same as school. I mean, do you know that for sure, or are you just assuming that? I think the alleged did go to a separate school. They even referred to him as a rival. So yeah, I have that information right here. So it says here, Carmelo Anthony, he went to Frisco Centennial. And Austin went to Frisco Memorial High School. So Frisco Centennial and Frisco Memorial. Hey, what's up? Real Chill Graws. Good to see you. I watched your captain video earlier today. It was pretty good, man. Pretty good. Was he in the opposing team, or was he there as a spectator, or did he have no reason to be there? Well, the last report referred to him as a rival. So I'm wondering if his school was there to compete. Maybe he was there instigating. I'm not quite sure. I think there's part of the story that we're not hearing, because the boys that confronted and one of the boys that became a victim of the incident, they were somewhere else and had just recently returned back to the pop-up tent. And sorry guys if I keep rubbing my nose. I'm getting hit with allergies during our season change here in Arizona. My nose, it just makes me so itchy. I'm not picking my nose. Boston, why take a gun or a knife into a school event? Why, Sleuth? I don't think you're allowed to take a gun. I don't know what the rules or the law is on a knife, but like I said, I don't know what's going on in this situation. There's people that get beat to death. I think a knife might be a way to defend yourself. I don't know if legally you should have one. I'm not saying I'm for that. I mean, murder's illegal and people are still committing murders. I can't stop them from doing that. So sometimes the law is irrelevant. But why would he bring that knife in there? I'm assuming, I don't know. He may have had issues with other kids. Maybe he was having a bad day. Maybe some other kids pushed him around. And he said, you know what? Next time somebody tries to push me around, I'm going to kill him. So this could be like a baited type murder, to make it appear like it was self-defense. Like you're antagonizing somebody and you kind of lure them into a fight. Kind of reminds me of the Apple River stabbing. He tried to kind of do the same self-defense plea as well. And that was obviously murder. My question here is, what's the truth? Like what really happened? If this guy was just sitting under this tent, nobody's there, right? And it's raining. He's like, I'm just going to sit under this far corner of the tent. Like these people don't own this place. And if they come back, I'll move as long as they're nice to me. So I don't know if the boys showed up and, they were kind of like trying to be aggressive, trying to force him out. I don't know. I don't know how that's going to play out in a court of law. J Ray says, so the Twins got there second. Yep. So apparently they set up the tent. The girls track team from their school puts all their items under the tent. It's raining. It's been raining all morning. The boys leave. It's the Twins and another person that they're with. So I think it's 3 boys now. The victim's twin brother, and another gentleman that's hasn't been named yet. They set up the tent. They get all the items under there. They leave. I believe the middle school across the street that I showed you is a school that they attended when they were middle schoolers. So they said, hey, we set up the tent. We're going to walk over to the middle school and we're going to talk to our old coaches and say hello to some people that we used to know. And on their way back, they come back to the bleachers. They ended up canceling the event, but I think it was right before the event was gonna begin, and then they had the altercation. So when they get back to the bleachers, there he is. There's Carmelo Anthony sitting under their canopy, their tent. My question is, how is it handled? Is it possible that there is a self-defense argument here? Grunge Truck says most of them are probably good kids for the most part. Yeah, that's, you know, the hardest part about all of this. And it kind of gives me flashbacks because I grew up rough like that. You know, this kind of thing kind of happened quite often around me. You know, stabbing, shootings, people getting assaulted, beaten, hit with weapons. You know, this kind of shit was happening in my schools all the time. You know, I've been in multiple brawls, multiple brawls on school campus and off school campus when I was going to high school. Yeah, man, I have some stories. Austin touched him after Anthony said, touch me and see what happens. Anthony has some kind of aggressive attitude, is what I'm saying. He carried the knife in his bag and gets it out. He wanted to hurt. Yeah. So the official narrative right now that I'm picking up on and the facts kind of point out is that he may have been looking for trouble. You know, he may have been antagonizing. And like I said, it reminds me of the Apple River stabbing where they were tubing out on the river. And this person makes up a story. You know, he creates this conflict. He creates the conflict. And then when he agitates the group so much that they kind of become aggressive and they start getting closer and closer and they get into his face after he keeps, you know, kind of prodding and poking. And then a fight kind of breaks out. He just starts stabbing people in the stomach. Killed a kid, gutted another kid. I mean, knives are brutal. Sometimes they may even be more dangerous than a gun in some cases. J-Ray, yes, it does, Sleuth. If it's true that he got his knife out of his bag and threatened him prior to doing that, he's screwed. No, this is what I'm picking up from the story. He unzipped his bag, didn't grab the knife yet. You know, he kind of hinted like, hey, there's something in my bag. He's like, if you touch me, it sounds like they asked him to move. And it got to the point where it's like, hey, bro, if you don't move, we're going to move you. And he's like, if you touch me, you're going to regret it. Unzips the bag and kind of waits in anticipation. Like, okay, this guy's going to touch me. And when he does, I'm not going to hesitate. I'm just going to, you know, I'm going to stab him. So it sounds like he has it all played out in his head. Like, I'm going to antagonize these guys, knowing their nature. They're going to, you know, the alpha. He's going to come and have a conflict with me. He's going to approach me. I'll continue to antagonize him, pull out the blade when he puts his hands on me. Or was he just sitting there peacefully and they were trying to force him out of an area where he had every right to be? He warned them, don't touch me. They forcefully grabbed him, and in self-defense, he plunged the knife forward, which is, I'm sure, which will be his defense. Question is, what is the truth? Blind says, sadly, Hunter said that he saw his brother's soul leaving his body. Yeah, he said, when my brother's soul left his body, mine left with it. And I believe him. You know, I believe that he really saw that happen. Gross says, seems like he was looking for trouble, kind of. According to the information that we have now, right? According to Hunter, you know, if you're to believe his account of things, they came back, sat down. They weren't even bothering with this this person who was quote unquote sitting under their tent. according to his narrative, they sat down, and Carmelo began saying things, inappropriate things that kind of grabbed their attention. So which is it, right? Which is it? There's like two stories now. Like, hey, first we came back, sat down, the guy started talking shit. And then there's another version of events like, hey, we came back and this guy was sitting under our tent. And, we were just trying to protect the personal property of the girls' track team. I mean, which is it, right? Is it that you sat down and this guy started harassing you? Or was it that you saw a man sitting under the tent and you were told by your coaches to protect the property? Hey, what's going on, Beth? In my opinion, Anthony was looking for trouble. Is it self-defense when you say touch me and see what happens? In my opinion, it's murder. I don't know what the law says. People manipulate the law constantly to get away with murder. What's the law going to say? What's the argument during a trial? Because I definitely don't think that they're going to be able to charge him with first-degree murder, right? That doesn't seem appropriate. I feel like that's asking for like an uphill battle during a trial. Me too. J Ray says, I want to hear from a third-party witness. No offense to Hunter, but yeah, twins are very close. It's natural that he'd protect him and even perceive his actions differently than somebody who wasn't. That's my point. I just want to know what's the truth here. I feel like if you're just sitting there and maybe you're just being annoying, I don't think people should be allowed to just come and bully you and put their hands on you and grab you. I feel like you should be able to defend yourself, even with deadly force, right? Because if somebody grabs you and throws you down bleachers and you land on your neck, you can die. If somebody punches you in the head, you could die. People should not be approaching you like that. The question is that what happened? And does the law agree with my opinion? What's the reality of it? The only real answer is that somebody lost their life needlessly. And how much blame is going to fall on the accused, Karmelo? And is it even possible for him to take a defense plea? I think that it's possible. It doesn't look that way. It looks like he baited Austin. It looks like he may have been looking for trouble, if what they say is true. But like what J Ray is saying right now, we need more information, I think, to be accurate and to be fair. Yep, that's true, Mustang. Hunter is also the brother of the victim, so that has to be considered also. Not saying he's lying, but he has an automatic bias. Yep, it's a good point. And he kind of has two stories here. One story is, hey, we told the guy, get out from underneath our tent. We're here to protect. We need to protect this property here. We need you to leave, please. And the other side of that coin is, hey, we just came back, sat under our tent, and this guy started running his mouth behind us. That's what started everything. And then we told him, to move. So maybe both are true. Like, hey, we didn't have a problem with him there at that moment in time, but then he began, saying inappropriate things. So at that point, we asked him to move. So I think the story's just not very clear at the moment. CJK says, to say touch me and see what happens tells me he wanted to be touched so he could harm Austin. He planned ahead even by a minute to hurt the other kid. Yeah, but what if Austin didn't touch him? He says, touch me and see what happens. What if he just doesn't touch him? Like, okay, that sounds like a threat. You're opening your bag. I'm not going to touch you. I don't plan to touch you. What does the law say? Once he takes that action and grabs Austin, how did he grab him? Did he forcefully grab him? Did he try to manhandle him? Did he assault him? Is grabbing even considered assault? I think just grabbing somebody or pushing somebody, maybe it won't be considered self-defense. Like, you weren't really in any trouble. He wasn't trying to harm you. He was literally just trying to push you out of the way. What does the law say about that? CJK says, now 2 families are destroyed and one will never see their son again this side of heaven. All right, let's check on the poll before we close it out. We're at the top of the hour, so we're about to get out of here. So the question is, murder or self-defense? Right now, 55% of you say this is murder. Clear case of murder. And it's dropped down to only 2% of you think self-defense. 43% of you say not sure at this point in time. I'm going to stick with not sure at this point in time and leaning towards maybe second-degree murder. I don't know if first-degree murder is going to stick. I think that's going to change. Yeah, I don't think we've heard the last of this case. I think this one's going to play out in trial. I think he has an argument. With the warning, him saying, if you touch me, there's going to be consequences. But if he just goes like this and touches him, that doesn't give him the right to stab him. Did he touch him? Did he physically assault him? Did he try to move him over with his body weight? What happened? What are the facts? Yeah, it's true, CJK. It looked like Austin and his brother Hunter are some pretty big boys. What would you say to a woman who was being approached like that by a man, being physically told to leave this area, and then somebody placing their hands on them? Put a woman in that position. Anybody who doesn't want to be assaulted or is afraid and who should have their personal space respected, right? Question is, is that what really happened? Welcome in. Orion says the guy knew that was obviously a designated area and he came to the track with a knife. The other guy was unarmed. Yeah, that's true. Did he go there to antagonize? And that's going to be important during a trial. That shows motive. That shows intent. Like, what were you doing there, Mr. Anthony? Why were you carrying the knife? Why did you go and why did you pick that area? But you have to remember there's a flip side to that. What does the law say? If I set up a tent on these bleachers, does that automatically mean that I own this part of the bleachers? Legally, did he have a right to sit there? And I think he may have. If he has a legal right to sit there, then really they don't have any legal reason to demand that he moves, right? Was he being a jerk? Obviously. Was he being annoying? Yes. Does that give another person the right to forcefully move him out of the area and threaten him? And I think that's going to be the biggest question. Is that what happened? What really happened? Did Karmelo go there looking for an altercation, baiting these young men in, saying derogatory things to them, baiting them into an altercation, provoking them, and at the slightest touch, he reacts with overwhelming deadly force, which 100% will be murder. first degree murder, I don't know. I'm thinking that's more of a second degree murder situation, which is likely what actually happened. Because the facts that we've gathered, removing any of the information we're taking from the brother Hunter, which would obviously be bias. But from what I've gathered, there's absolutely no reason for him to be there. He was prepared with that knife. It must have been ready. I mean, we're talking split second, that blade is thrust into his chest. And it can't be easy to pierce the chest plate. So he must have already figured out how he was going to do it, had the knife accessible to where he can just reach into the bag, pull it out. I don't know if he did this. I don't know if he must have done this. So for somebody to be already prepped and ready to do that, shortly after provoking people, yeah, that doesn't look good in court. And then also he ran from the scene. So it looks like a second degree murder situation. If you were to ask me, I'll keep you guys updated on this case. And all of you who kind of caught the replay, shout out to you. Leave a comment. Let me know what you guys have to say about the case. We're going to close out the poll, and then we'll go ahead and get on out of here. I want to thank Mustang for sponsoring today's live stream. Thank you so much for donating to the channel. And everybody, you guys have a good rest of your day. I do have another stream set up for you guys a little bit later, so don't miss that one. W. Smith. No school allows knives. Yeah, this wasn't a school, though. So I don't know what the gray line is there. Yep, CJK, we're going to watch this one closely. Good to see you, Sensei. Have a good rest of your day, Mark, Grunge Truck, Sensei, Boston. That I don't know. W. Smith, that I don't know. It was a blade with a black handle. Yeah, you walk away. You walk away always. If they're not going to move, it's not, in my opinion, in hindsight, it wasn't for them to demand him to move. They should have went and grabbed somebody. Let them do their job. That's not our job. Don't allow the man to just take over your space, right? And the question is, I think, was it their space? I think there's a lot to be argued with this case here. W says Hunter will have to take the stand and get grilled by a defense team. Not going to be a pleasant. No, it's going to be awful. CJK says if Austin didn't touch him, then it's murder for sure. Also, I think it depends on how he touched him. Did he just grab him like his shoulder? Did he punch him? Did he use both his hands? I think it depends. Like, hey, if you touch me, see what happens. And then he just kind of touches him, like some annoying kid, like, hey, I'm not touching you. I'm not touching you. I think it really depends. W. Smith says, would have been best to tell authorities that kid might have a weapon in his bag. Yeah, if the kid zips open his bag and says, touch me and see what happens, I think that would be a good opportunity to call law enforcement. Be like, hey, this kid, he might even have a gun. He unzipped his bag and he's making threats. So I do believe that was a bit of a gamble. Like, you ain't got no gun. No, this ain't a gun, but it is, it's a knife, which can be even more deadly at times. Yep, Mustang. I agree. Yeah, a lot of information missing right now. Hey, welcome in, Tam B. Riot, what's up? All right, guys, we're going to get on out of here. If I missed your comment, my bad. I apologize. It's hard for me to get to everybody. Let me know what you think in the comment section about today's live stream. We will be live again a little bit later for a Sleuth Crew check-in. This was going to be part of that check-in. I was putting some content together because I want to hang out with you guys for a while, a little bit later on in the day. But I said, you know what? We're going to go ahead and separate this case from all of that true crime news and case updates, and we'll focus in on it because I think this is going to be one of those polarizing cases that plays out on social media through the trial process. So I'll keep you guys updated. Either way, take care, and I'm sure I'll see you a little bit later today. Peace.